Hello! It's been 60 days since we planted our exotic seeds. And so much has happened. The last video ended with us leaving our plants unattended for a whole week. And now let's see what happened to them. Let's start with the mango seed. It has already created quite a decent root and a small sprout on top. But it was too early for it to be planted. Before leaving, we decided to move it to a larger container, so there would be enough water for it in our absence. And come take a look at what happened. Already in the first few days, the roots got to the bottom of the container and also began to form other new roots. Just look at how fast it drinks water. That's because of one simple reason. Just look at what's going on up above. The stem of the plant began to grow very quickly, and its height exceeded 10 centimeters. It's very beautiful, even the leaves grew. When I returned, I couldn't believe it. They look like a piece of art. There was now a pile of roots. And it was no longer a sprout, but rather a small tree, which needs to be moved to the ground as soon as possible. After all, there are not many left in the seed itself, from which the plant draws the necessary nutrients. Thus, it is necessary to switch to another source of nutrients, such as soil. We got a very beautiful pot. We had this mango seed only for a short while, and now we have ourselves a whole tree of this fruit. If after watching our video you also planted some exotic fruit, then send us your video with the plant to our email. Maybe we will show it in the next video. The leaves are so long they partially lie on the ground. 2 weeks later, no new leaves have grown on the plant. But the trunk has grown a bit and the leaves themselves are much greener. Maybe the plant is just saving strength for a new stage of development. Even Marlboro wanted to take a look at the mango and add a little bit of fertilizer. Cookie, don't try to eat Marlboro, he went through a lot. We cut to papaya seeds, and here we are. As it turns out, we have our first casualties. Originally, they germinated quite quickly, we chose the best ones, but then at one point they dried up. Or the humidification regime was simply not suitable. Now we see that growing papaya at home is not so easy. In contrast, the avocado is doing great. In just 7 days, the root has significantly lengthened, and new branches have grown. Nothing happened on top of it at first, but then a small stem with leaves appeared from the crack. And when we arrived, the avocado looked like this. Basically, no changes needed to be made. It's almost ready to be moved to the soil. But maybe that'll happen in the following video. And how are our peanuts doing? In our absence, they germinated and looked like little bushes. We continued to water them and they slowly grew. But then at one point, the plants slowly began to dry out. We realized that we had to do something quickly. After all, we must not allow the last one to dry out. We took it out of the small pot and transplanted it right into the large one. We watered them properly and they even grew a little. Before we move to the watermelon, let's take a look at the pineapple. It grew a bunch of small roots in the last video, but now it has these long strings. It's ready to be moved to the ground. Before planting, it is necessary to cut this off, so that it doesn't rot in the ground next to the roots. Carefully cut it off with scissors. Because pineapple is a tropical plant, it needs tropical soil, which we are able to prepare ourselves. All we have to do is mix ordinary soil with a lot of sand, because there is a lot of sand in the tropical areas. And the pineapple likes it. Gently place the pineapple in the soil so that it doesn't get damaged. And everything is done. Cut the dry parts of the pineapple off with scissors, and now we wait for the new leaves to grow. And now to the main sponsor of the video, watermelon. In our absence, initially all melons developed and actively grew. But then, for some reason, they began to dry up. Do they not have enough moisture? By the way, you may have noticed the displacements of sprayers on the table. It remains a mystery to us who could have done it. Of the living creatures at home, only Stefan and Cookie were here. I really wonder how that happened. So as you can see, our two main melons were lost during the experiment. It's time for a spare, good thing we didn't get rid of them. They're doing great, some have even grown. We take out the dried watermelon and we see that the root system is surprisingly fine. We don't know what caused the drying out. We take our watermelon substitute and plant it in a large pot. As it began to tilt a little, we created a small structure to support it. With these strings, the watermelon attaches to something and pulls the stem up, so that it gets as much sun as possible. Look at how interesting this process is when sped up. After a week, the watermelon became even bigger, and this support was no longer able to hold it. A new stage in the development of the watermelon has arrived. We got ourselves a large rectangular pot that will be able to provide the watermelon everything it needs. We put special pebbles and sand to the bottom. And the moisture will now collect here, instead of staying in the soil. A lot of moisture in the soil is also bad for it. And on top we put ordinary soil for a houseplant. Because we have a watermelon at home. The moment of transplanting has come. It's very difficult to do everything alone, because the stem is very long and it can very easily break. Since the watermelon needs to grab something, then we will give it a ladder, on which it can lean and climb up. Let's water it. We're going to spray a little on the leaves, so it seems like rain. And we are looking forward to another video, in which we will hopefully see the formation of small watermelons.